Hey, Heather.
Hey, Jen.
What are you listening to this week? Welcome to season 4 of What Are You Listening To? The weekly podcast created to foster community through music by sharing the stories behind the songs that soundtrack our lives. Some of the songs are old, some new, all good. I'm Jenn Tully, and this week I'm joined once again by my longtime friend and fellow Swiftie, Heather Garner. Heather is a lifelong educator, mom, and boutique owner. She currently teaches theater in the Keller ISD and founded and runs an online boutique called Hello 50, where she curates clothing collections for women who want to feel confident and stylish at any age. This week, you guessed it, Heather and I are going to chat about the album on everyone's lips and in everyone's ears, The Tortured Poets Department by Taylor Swift. We'll discuss our favorite songs, some not so subtle name drops, and Easter eggs galore. Which songs do you think we're going to discuss? Tune into our conversation to find out. And in case you haven't had a chance to listen to the album yet, we'll publish a playlist with the episode so you don't miss a beat. With that, let's get started. Heather is finally here. I'm not even going to bore you with
Finally
the
here.
question of what are you listening to because I know. We've been
Yes,
waiting.
you do.
We've been waiting for over a year for a new T Swift album. I think it's just over a year since you and I were at the Eras tour.
Yes.
Whenever
Yes.
we were like, when is new music coming? When is new music coming? So for the listeners to lay the groundwork for today's convo, we're going to just discuss the 16 original tracks on the Tortured Poets Department. We're not doing anthology. We're not doing any of the special edition bonus tracks. We're just going to focus on those original 16 tracks. And instead of sort of Heather's 2 picks and then mine, we're going to go through the track list and then we're going to kind of hone in on some of our favorite tracks. So we'll call those like our focus tracks, if you will. But that way we kind of just get to digest the whole album in one episode. So let's get into it, Heather. Let's first talk about like just initial reactions. So I'm sure, both of us at 11 p.m. because we're Central Time Zone on Thursday night, we're like waiting. It was so cute. My niece who lives in San Diego had texted me like she's like, are you listening? Are you listening? And I didn't see it until the next morning because I like put it on and like got into bed. I was so tired and then just fell asleep
Okay.
listening. So I was like so on it with everyone else in the world. But tell me what you thought. Like, so initially, like it's 11 p.m. on Thursday. We've been waiting, I think when did Midnights came out? I think October of 22. So we've been waiting a
Yes.
while. Like, tell me where you landed. Where did it land for you?
Well, it was 11 p.m., just like you.
Right.
And I did fall asleep listening, but I was very tired. So my initial reaction, I couldn't totally focus on the lyrics. I was just listening to the songs, just absorbing. And at first I was like, not so sure. And then when I realized that this was a lot of a Maddie Healy album,
Mm-hmm.
I got mad.
Uh-oh.
Mad because I'm not a Maddie Healy fan. I just
Okay.
thought that was, I can go into that later, but I was just like, I wanted a Joe album. And it
Okay.
really was not much of a Joe album. So that was honestly my first reaction. I was
Okay.
like, ugh. And I was just tired and fell asleep. So listened to it in the next morning, and that's when I slowly started getting obsessed. And of course, listened, closer to the lyrics and the Easter eggs. And my second thought was, what are all these names? Because there were
Yes.
so many names, and I was just like, huh. And sadly, it took me a minute. The Amy song was like, oh, that spells Kim,
Right.
So that was,
Yes.
so I was slow, catching on to all this stuff. But now I can't stop listening. There are songs I'm just repeating. Yeah, I'll talk more about that as we get into each song.
Excellent.
But yes, now I see the true wizardry of her words, and
Right?
I'm obsessed. So as usual, I was like this with Midnight. It took me a minute, and it's probably my favorite or second favorite album is Midnight. So I'm sure this one will be up there with it.
Yeah, you know what? It's so funny because I almost had the opposite reaction. Like I listened through that first time and I was so excited because for me, all of the albums are chasing folklore, right? Folklore is
Yes,
my
that's your
number
fave.
one.
Yeah.
It's my fave. Everybody that knows me knows. Even though my favorite song is on Reputation. If somebody like hammers me about picking a favorite Taylor Swift song, it's New Year's Day for me. People know that. And
Mhm.
we'll get into that a little bit later too. But Folklore is the album that is like to me her like number one. I'd listen over and over. It's a top 5 album of all time in my list. Like I love it. So everything's chasing Folklore for me. So when I first heard it, I was like, oh, I felt like we were going to get some of the stories, like we're going to get some of the like fiction that she gave us in Folklore that I kind of liked. But I kind of like you was like, I was expecting a Joe Alwyn album about that relationship. And there ended up being a ton of Maddie Healy, which for me was great because I
Yeah.
know people don't love him. I love the 1975. Him as a person, like whatever. I think he's kind of like a shock jock a little bit, like that's his shtick. And so I try to ignore it. If you've ever been around a teenage boy, right? Like, or my husband, like they're doing it for shock value. And if you're just like, meh, whatever. But I really do like the 1975. So I thought it was interesting that she kind of chose to dig into that relationship. And also too, how society as a whole, like you can't even almost say her fans anymore because it really is like she has a societal impact beyond just, what a normal person's fan base would be. Like in her
Yes.
comments on how to like society kind of felt like they had the ability or the invitation to kind of weigh in on her relationships, right? Like you get some of that in
Mhm.
this album too. So I did
Yeah.
like I like that that she set us up to think we were getting, or we set ourselves up to think we were getting this big album about Joe, and then it ended up being about a lot of other things. And as you mentioned, like if you go
Mhm.
through Anthology, oh man, it gets deep. Like she definitely has the final say with Kim Kardashian and all that. So I'm definitely encouraging people to go the Anthology route. But for the purposes of our half-hour show, we decided
Yeah.
to, hone in there. But I think let's jump into the track list then, because one of my
Okay.
focus tracks is the very first song. This one had me from the beginning. It's called Fortnight. This is her collab with Post Malone, who I also love, love, love. I think that
Same.
Post Malone
Yeah.
is like super underrated, and like a shout out for him. If you've not watched his Tiny Desk concert on NPR, it's so worth it. Like if all you know is like circles and he's like super auto tuned and blah blah blah, watch his Tiny Desk concert. You will change your mind forever about Post Malone. He's so good. But this song, oh, I love everything about it. I love the words. And she's really been open about how sometimes she'll just take a word that she likes and craft a song around it. Like something that's a word that people don't say very often, but that she thinks is a cool word. And you see that all the time in her music. And I think this is like a classic example of that. Like, with Fortnite, like, and then everybody has to Google like how many days is a fortnight, like,
Yeah.
but she really does. Like, I think she is so good at taking those words like in our vernacular that people know and have heard, but she just makes them interesting again because she found them interesting in the first place. And so she serves them up for all of us to kind of redigest. And I love that. I love that. And I love that about this song. Tell me what you thought about the opening track. Was Fortnite one that grabbed you from the beginning? I know you said you were kind of slow to warm up to it. Where does it sit now for you?
Um, Honestly, it's not like my
It's
top
not.
3,
Okay.
4. I think it's beautiful. I love that Post Malone is a part of it. Um, I don't know what I was expecting with it, but also as an elementary teacher, the word Fortnite is a video
Game.
game. Yeah,
Right.
and so I just and I know it's spelled differently, but I was just I don't know. I didn't know what my expectation was of this
Yeah.
song. It wasn't it. But I do love it. I think it's beautiful. It just wasn't one of those that I'm probably going to be playing over and over again. I may eat my words later as just I don't know. going back, I like her catchy. I like Taylor's catchy music,
Yeah.
early Taylor. So I think that's why Midnight's in this one took me a while to
To
warm
warm
up
up.
to. Um, there's just not a lot of catchy, catchy, catchy. So, and I don't know what I expected with Post Malone, but it wasn't what he did on this song. So
Right.
I
And
don't
maybe more
know.
upbeat. Maybe more
Yes.
upbeat with Post Malone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well, and I
I
think
don't
too,
know.
I think another thing that I loved about this one, or that sucked me in, that maybe made me partial to it, is that
Mhm.
we get another like affair story, right? And one of my
Yes.
favorites on folklore is Illicit Affair. I just love that song. I like the imagery. I like the again, she turns a phrase like nobody's business. So this
Oh
kind of
yeah.
reminded me, this brought me back to like the Augustine Betty James situation that, I really was living in folklore. And so I definitely liked that, that I got a little bit more of that in a different way with this song. And, I love the line when she says she feels like mornings or Mondays stuck in an endless February.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
I mean, that spoke to me for sure.
all right, as a
I did.
teacher.
I love that
Um,
line too.
And then the video, if
Yeah.
you haven't taken a second to watch the video, the video is worth checking out. You get like this really great, it's not a spoiler alert because it's been everywhere, but Ethan Hawke and Josh Charles make an appearance. So if you're an old school fan of Dead Poets Society, you sort of get that she's kind of pulled them in, this Todd and
Mhm.
Knox Overstreet character that I love so much from Dead Poet Society. So I definitely loved seeing them in the video as well. And that she and Post Malone sort of switch faces, where she's got the face tattoos and he's,
Yes.
clean face. So definitely too, I loved the video. So for me, Fortnite just presented like a whole package. And I think that's why I glommed onto it. And as she
Mhm.
starts releasing like more videos and other things from the other tracks, I'm sure that they'll start to resonate in a more like full sense way. But I get what you're saying though too, about maybe expecting something different in the collab with Post
Mhm.
Malone. And I will say I did want a little bit more Post Malone. It was like
Yeah.
Snow on the Beach, right? With that first version that
Yes.
came out. I wanted a little bit more
Uh-huh.
Lana Del Rey. And so same with
Yes.
this one. Like I wanted a little bit more Post Malone, but I still really did love this track a lot. It's one that I will be
Mhm.
going back to.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the second then. This could be polarizing because it's this one's for sure. I mean, everybody's speculating. She hasn't come out and said anything, but everybody's in pretty full agreement that track two, which is the Tortured Poets Department, is definitely about Maddie Healy.
Yes. Which shocked
So
me because I thought for sure it was Joe with his whole
yeah,
tortured poet
yep.
text thing. But yeah, that shocked me.
Did you
But I
like this
like this
track?
one.
I do
I
too.
did. Yeah, it's one of them. I have listened to this one multiple times. I
Yeah,
really like it.
I do
It
too.
it spoke to me, yeah.
Well,
And
and
I
this
was
one,
shocked, like I said, it was about Maddie, and so I was, like, really trying to dig in because I feel like I know nothing about. I'm one of those Swiftie fans that I love the when she shares her personal things, and she does that a
yes,
lot. I think there's a whole lot of fans out there that cling on to her personal stories and feel like she's one of their best friends because she's so open in her music with all of her private life, and I felt that way with this one too. I was like,
yeah.
oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm getting some more understanding, and yeah, that was this one for me.
Yeah, I liked it. And this was one of those too where she did drop a lot of different names of people, but I
Mhm.
do love I like the refrain that she goes back to with "You're not Dylan Thomas, I'm not Patti Smith. This ain't the Chelsea Hotel. We're modern idiots." And I was like,
Mhm.
again, she's like nailed it.
Yes. Yes.
Uh,
So,
so, and then we like cruise on in. We stay like the first four tracks. I felt like we kind of stayed in this sort of like mellow zone. And that's when I
mhm.
started to be like, all right, like I hope this picks up. But we go in, we
Yeah.
like sort of ease into track three, which this one, I love the title of this song. My boy only breaks his favorite
Yeah.
toys. Like
Yeah.
for that, I'm like, I have to like this song I'm excited about just because I love the title.
Mhm.
But this one also delivered for me. I liked this one. I thought this one was an interesting take. And I don't know, I mean, stuff is still being revealed all the time, but I don't know who this one's about. This one,
I don't either. I kind of feeling more Joe-ish for some reason, but I don't know. I was gonna ask you who you thought it was about
yeah.
because and that's why I kept listening to this one over and over because I'm like, being a detective trying to figure it out, but I couldn't.
Well, and you never
So
know when she's gonna jump, like, all the way back, and she's gonna take us to
that's
some
true.
relationship, from 100 years ago. Like, so
And
I'm always
yeah.
like, I don't know.
Yeah, I still think there's some Jake songs in there every now and then or lyrics, I'm like,
Mhm.
she's still hurt over that one.
Still reeling from that one. Well, and I read somewhere too, it's one of the anthology tracks, I can't even remember which one, but I think one of them also is harkening back to John Mayer,
Mm. Oh,
where she's like, where she's, still talking about, and I think the issue there was similar to the one with Jake, where it was that age difference thing that really
yes.
like bummed her out about those relationships like ending the way they did, and sort of the assumptions that were made about her age versus theirs and all of the things.
Yes,
So
yes, I know
it was
exactly
like,
what you're talking about, and I don't remember the title of that song, but that's the one I was like, "Is this Jake?" You
yeah,
know? I've sort of erased John Mayer out of Taylor's
right.
life, so
He doesn't count anymore. We're moving on, John. We're moving on.
that's how I was with Maddie, so
And I was kind of rooting for her and Maddie. I know I was in the
oh,
minority. I know, but I love the 1975. I just do.
I mean,
Um,
as a singer, yes, yes, but
as a
not for my
human,
Taylor, okay?
right?
Not for
I
my
know.
Taylor.
I know. Well, we'll get there probably when we get to the alchemy. Spoiler
Yeah.
alert. But we'll weigh in on current boy situation.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
all right, so then we head into a song that both of us actually love as a focus track. And this is definitely like one of my top two on,
Mhm.
like, I love this song so much. And the song is called Down Bad. So tell me, I know this was one of your focus tracks, so help me understand why it was down bad for you.
Alright, it is a little more catchier than some of her others, so that I'm just attracted to those catchy songs. I found myself this was the first one I found myself singing, like, just on my own. But not too long ago, my 18-year-old daughter said, "Mom, why do you like all of Taylor Swift's angry songs?" I was like, "Those are like, most of my favorite songs are her anger songs where I can just scream and "Rah," and get out, I guess, all the pent up anger, and then the way she says things, she's just such a beautiful writer that what I'm feeling just comes out, and this is one of those angry songs for me that I can just scream the F word multiple
Mhm.
times, and I'm like, "Yes," and it just, I don't know, it's just one of those, I see myself getting in my car, driving down the road and screaming and then showing up at wherever I'm going and be like, "Okay, I can do this today," and get out and be like, "I got everything out." But also, it opened my eyes to how bad Maddie Healy hurt her, which made my anger even more for that man. And I was like, "No," I was shocked that I just thought he was a blip. And
Yeah,
that just shows we don't know everything, of course. We think we know everything about Taylor Swift, and we don't. She shares what she wants. She's mastermind, of course. Um,
exactly.
so that's a lot of these songs shocked me that I thought for sure she was like, "Just I don't want you, Mr. Maddie, get out of my life." But I think it wasn't that way. And so this
Yeah.
one shocked me with that too. So yeah, that was my main points on that one, but I love it.
Well, I do too. And this one was the first one where I really, the first one on this album where I really
Mhm,
started to feel her influences bleed in a little bit more, right? Like you can
mhm.
tell, like the people that she's collabed with are people that she loves. She's really open and honest about that. And you can sort of like hear them seeping in a little bit. Like as we go down the track list, I'll make some more references to kind of illustrate the point. But this is one where I thought like, oh, you know what? This could be a Boy Genius song. Like
Yeah,
because she was on tour with a few dates with Boy Genius. Like there's another song as we cruise down here that I'm like, oh, this could be a Lana Del Rey song. Like you can start to hear these people that she loves and collaborates with kind of influencing her music. And
yeah, for sure.
that was my first thought when I heard this was like, oh, I feel like this could be a Boy Genius song. And the way you're talking about loving an anger song, I
Mhm.
love the way she lets me live out like a full relationship in my head. You
Yes.
know, like I'd spent so much, I was kind of a late bloomer. And so
Mhm.
I spent a lot of time where, like, when I was young, relationships just lived in my head. They weren't happening in real life. I wasn't like serial dater or, any of these
Yeah.
things. So I was having all of these relationships in my head. And I love that she lets you do that. Like she shares the happy times, the longing, the wanting from afar, the obsessed boy that doesn't love you back. Like you get to go through all of that without any real life risk. And I think that
Mhm.
that is part for me of what makes her music so amazing. Like you get to really go through it in a 4-minute song.
I agree, and then if you have lived through anything like that, the memories and reliving and, "Gosh, I could have done it this way," or if I had this kind of confidence, if she'd only been around then, and given
Yeah.
me this advice, I would do things differently, and that's another thing, she just writes what is in a lot of our heads and hearts, and things that I think a lot of people don't have the words or can't put into words, she puts it into exactly what we wanna say or how we were feeling, she puts that into words, and it's like, wow, you should get into it. But I agree with the whole fantasy type thing. This is how it would go. Or, if you haven't experienced it, you definitely feel it through her words. And
Yeah.
you'll be prepared when you do experience it or whatever. But
Exactly. And hopefully a lot
yeah,
more confident and able to maintain
yeah.
boundaries and things than we
Hmm.
were maybe when we were growing up with
Yeah.
some artists. So
Wish
I
we had
love it.
her back in the day.
I know.
Yeah.
I wish we did. I wish we did. I'm glad we have her now, though.
Yeah.
And this one is like the, just and I love Down Bad. Like, you're in a school, you hear this all the time. Like my teenagers always talking about somebody's down bad for somebody, so I
Yep.
love too that it captures like a cultural catchphrase in the moment, the way like
Yeah.
music from the 80s, if you hear like awesome or tubular or like some like catchphrase from then, it captures that
Yep.
moment in time. Like I love that this, kind of captures that silliness in the vernacular that we're having right now, or that some of the slang that people are using. um
Definitely.
all right, and as we cruise on down, your second focus track is just right after Down Bad, as we move into So Long London. So this is another one that you loved, and now that we've gotten kind of halfway through, or we're getting into now, I think I might know now why this one was a fave. This one kind of maybe delivered for you finally.
Yes. It's a Joe
Yes.
song, right? And I Taylor's my best friend, and, I needed closure with the whole Joe relationship because I felt like that the breakup came out of the blue. I guess I was just, living in, Taylor's this is it for her. Um, and I don't know, once they broke up, I was like, "What happened?" Just like a lot of Swifties, were like, "I thought they were perfect, blah, blah, blah." Little did I know, you know, Joe is
Hmm.
something. So it just gave a lot of insight on I think who he was or is or whatever, and what was going on in the relationship, and just like I said, it gave me closure. I felt like when they broke up, it actually hurt me.
Right? It
And
was
they
though.
they announced it right before we went to her Eras Tour concert, and
Hmm.
I remember I kept saying, "Well, she's hurt. She's hurt. You can see it, when she's singing, it's too soon, too raw."
Yes.
And so I was very invested in the breakup, and this to me was like, oh, okay. I felt so much better after listening to it, and yeah, yeah, let's get rid of Joe. It just
Yeah.
truly gave me closure, and that's why I love this song.
Well, and I felt like it was kind of like if the lakes is the beginning, like this is the ending, right? Like
Yes.
she bookends it really nicely for us too, where
Mhm.
we can kind of like just put the Joe chapter like back up on the
Mhm.
shelf and we're all good. Like, so I loved it too.
Yes.
And I have to like shout out because the whole album, like if you're just like skipping through and like getting to that song you like, you're always going to stop on this track because of that opening. I love the opening of this
Mhm.
song so much. It's so good. And this is the song that I was saying I felt like could also be like a Lana Del Rey song. Like again, I feel
Yes.
like you can hear her, the people that she loves, like coming into the music a little bit.
Yes.
And so I've dug that part about it too.
Mhm.
And so then, like, here we come to track 6, which is "But Daddy, I Love Him," which is great. And this is all about, I mean, word on the street is that this one is about her, like, kind of her fans and how they were all over her about this Maddie Healy relationship. And, I think at the end she says something to the effect of, like, I'm the only one that can disgrace myself, or like, I'm the only one that can ruin my name. Like, you can't do it for me. And again, I'm just like,
Yes.
boss move. Where was she when I was 15?
I'm for real, for real. That's what
Yeah.
I've been saying. I did feel guilty listening to this song. I still feel guilty, because yes, I was very judgy about I still am, about Maddie Healy, but, I only want the best for you, Taylor, I only want the best, so, yeah, I did feel like she was talking to me, but I did
Yes.
also get that, "You go, girl," I always do with
Yeah.
her because she is such a boss.
She really is. And I love, and I like that track too. I like But Daddy, I Love
I
Him.
do
It's
too.
another one that's like, I feel like the middle, like for me it was like the first track, last track, and then you kind of like the middle, I feel like are tracks that I'm going to listen to, but I don't
Yeah,
have to listen to all the way through. I can kind of pick and
mhm,
choose what mood I'm in for the day. And I will
agreed.
say, like, I loved Fresh Out the Slammer, track 7.
Mhm.
Another, like, I love the title. This was another fave. Like, she does like longing for the wrong guy like nobody else. Like, that's kind of her, one of her sweet spots for me. But this is where I have to, like, here's where I'm going to have an unpopular hot take maybe. I am ready. This album is great. I'm going to listen to it forever. Next album, I'm going to just ask for it. I'm going to put it in the universe. I'm ready for her to move on from Aaron Dessner and Jack Antonoff, because
Ooh,
I feel like I can go through the track list and I can tell you, oh, this is an Aaron produced song. Oh, this is a Jack produced song. Oh, this is Aaron. Oh, this is
for
Jack.
sure.
Aaron, Jack. And so I feel like it's getting a little bit predictable. Like, you're hearing, like, remember the first time you heard Mastermind and the cool, like, like the
Yeah.
cool, like, synth and stuff. And like, I'm hearing it again. Like, it's creeping
Mhm.
in. And then you get like the heavy piano with Aaron Dessner that
Yes.
sounds super like the National. And so now it's starting, like, halfway through, I started to feel like it was getting like a little bit predictable. And so I was like, all right, it's time. It reminds me of, I was saying this to my husband, to Patrick, last night. It reminds me of when Dan Auerbach from the Black Keys was producing everybody, and you turned on
Yes.
the radio and everything just sounded like the Black Keys. I'm like, all of her albums
Mhm.
now just feel like firmly stamped with Jack Antonoff and Aaron Dessner, which I love, but I'm kind of ready for her to like find that new collab situation, from a production standpoint, that's going to be the next thing that gets her through.
I agree, and I think that's why when I listened to it for the first time, I was kinda like, "Mm, same old stuff
Yeah,
we've been getting lately." I am also ready for something new. Um, I don't know I mean, she's a genius, she will figure it out, but
she will.
I don't know what I'm ready for, but let's change it up a bit. She's changed multiple times. I feel, through her
Yeah.
career, and let's do it again.
Yeah,
I'm
let's do
ready.
it again. Let's see who's next. And
Mhm.
again, I've loved all 4 albums that
Oh, yes.
that they've gotten together on, and I'm ready for her to kind of pick it up. And that, I feel like that's a good segue too into track 8, which is another one of her collabs on this. And this is like the collab I feel like everybody knew that they needed and are like finally happy to have. It's a song called Florida, and it's her collab with Florence and the Machine. And I think that she must be such an amazing collaborator because you can totally hear Florence in this. I'm a huge huge Florence and the Machine
Yeah.
fan. And so is my daughter. I think Florence is probably Taylor Swift for my daughter. Ivy
Oh, wow.
loves the Florence. And so um, whenever she first heard this song, this was the first track she went to, of course, she said, she was like, oh, it kind of sounds like Daffodil, a Florence song off of Dance Fever, that has like that drum, that kind of heavy drum
Mhm.
beat that we get a little bit here in Florida. So I think that it just tells me she must be such a great collaborator, because you can almost,
You're right.
like, with even without hearing the Florence Welch vocals, you can kind of, like, you almost know like who she's collaborating with a little bit.
By the sound, for sure. This is it's funny because I don't know, this came out of the blue for me, but this is the song I've listened to most. Um,
Okay.
but the first time I listened to it, I was like, "Florida," because I am all about her personal life, and
Right.
I was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, I like Florida. I need a vacation in timeshare in Florida," or whatever, but
Right.
and then I listened to it again and again and again. I'm singing it all the time. I am just, beaten with that drum and just it it's consumed me. And I mean, I don't want to say it, but right now it's my favorite song on the whole album.
It's a really good one. I like Florida as well. Again, I love this collaboration. I love them together. And I feel like, if we think back to when she announced the breakup, it was at a Florida concert. And
Yes.
so I'm like, I think there's a whole lot in here. And this is also, I believe it's this one. And then there's one other song on I Can Fix Him. No, really, I can. Where
Yes. Yes.
she shouts out Texas. I'm like,
I
oh,
know.
our girls shouting out Texas. And so then, of
Yeah, I
course, like, I
remember.
immediately, I'm like, she's talking about us. She's talking about
Yes,
us.
I did too, and yeah, because we're best friends, right? And so,
Right.
no, yes, I don't know. Is it in Florida? It's not in Florida where she shouts out Texas, is it?
She
I
says
think it,
something about,
I think it is in Florida.
in Florida, she says something about it. And then in I Can Fix Him, I Really Can, she says
Okay,
something
okay.
about, like, that one's where, like, that's
Is
kind of
she?
where she like talks a little bit more about Texas.
Yeah.
But yeah, she talks about, she's something about the dumpster fire in Texas or something.
Yes,
I don't remember
yes.
what, but she
Shouts
does.
off. Yeah,
There we go.
yeah. But yeah, Florida. It's my tops right now, and I did go deep diving into what all this means in the song. So
Oh,
I've learned a lot, if it's true, TikTok. So,
right.
um,
Enlighten us. Enlighten us.
well, just something about I saw a TikTok about how it's something where she invited Maddie Healy to Florida, but nothing had happened between them yet, or something. And there's something about you haven't put your hands on me yet, or something in there. But yeah, she's been called a cheater. So they're saying because she had possibly there was an overlap between Joe and
Ah.
Maddie, but nothing had happened between them. But then she said, "Let's go to Florida," and
Mm.
and maybe that's when all that started. So I don't know if it's true. It's just the rabbit hole I went down with Florida,
Right.
trying to figure out what all this means, because that's what she does to me. I have to dig into her lyrics and say,
Same.
what does this mean, my friends?
Same.
Figure it
Same
all
exact
out.
thing. Well, and then I think that you're right, because then you go into track 9, which is Guilty as Sin, where she talks about
Yes.
imagining a relationship before it, like, she hasn't done anything, but it feels
Yeah.
like she has, because she's like obsessing and having
Hmm.
like all of the thoughts, which is kind of like a super fun part of a relationship. Like,
Yes.
we've both been like long time married, girl, but
Yeah.
I can remember back to like that time when you're like, ooh, you're having
Yes.
like all the thoughts in your head about, what's this going to be like? What's this going to be like? How's this going to be? What's it going to
Uh-huh.
be like when we do this? Like,
And is that cheating? She didn't
mm-hmm.
do anything, but some people might think that's cheating when your brain is with somebody
Yeah.
else, that you're still in a relationship. So she was feeling
Mm-hmm.
guilty about that, I think. I don't know. I could go on
For
and on.
sure. I know, we could. Well, and then we get into, I'm anxious to hear your thoughts on track 10, because I feel like this is kind of an anger track here. We've got some definite feelings happening in Who's Afraid of Little Old Me. Um
I love
I
this one too.
I
Yes.
do too. This is like great production on this
Hmm.
song. I love the way they produced it. And for me also, this felt like a version of Look What You Made Me Do,
Yeah.
that a 30-year-old would sing versus a 20-year-old. Does
Yes.
that
Oh my gosh, you nailed it.
Yeah.
Yes. Reputation is my number one album. And I probably, because there's a lot of anger. I'm not an angry person, people,
At
but
all. At
I guess
all.
I get it out through these songs. And this definitely felt like that to me. And
Mhm.
I will be singing this one screaming in my car as well.
Same.
It's one of those. Yeah, love it.
I love this one. Yeah, this is like almost like The Man, like this is her
Yeah,
like in her boss mode,
empowering.
like
Mhm.
this one, and again as we get to the end, but I Can Do It With a Broken Heart also is like for
Yeah.
me like her boss mode.
Oh, ooh, yeah, love it.
So
And
good.
those truly empowering when I listen to those songs.
Yes. Yes,
I can
yes.
do
And
it.
then I can do it. I can do anything. And then,
Mhm.
she takes us through again. We're going, I can fix him. No, really, I can. We talked about this one. This is, I love a story song. She's great at a
Yes,
story song. She shouts out our home state of Texas in that one.
yes.
So I feel like, as you get into like, I can fix him. No, I really can. LOML. I can do it with a broken heart. Like, like, here's where I feel like she kind of like she backs off a little bit and we get some familiar sounding tracks, and then I feel like she puts her foot on the gas again and just like takes us home with the back
Mhm.
half of the album where you're like, oh, LOML.
That broke me.
Oh, I'm a sucker for a T Swift piano song. I said it
Yes,
at the beginning. New Year's Day is my favorite. You know it,
yes.
Eras. I was like, please let our
I
bonus track
know.
be New Year's Day. Please, please, please. It wasn't.
Yes.
But
Mm.
like this is almost my new version of New Year's Day, like LOML.
It's, if anybody has ever had a broken heart, this one speaks to you, I think, and it's
Mhm.
in a big way. And I just to me, it was another Closure Joe song, you
Mhm.
know, just I don't know, it's just heartbreaking, and I feel it. I feel it in my bones, and everything she
Serious.
says, didn't know how to put into words your feelings. She does it for you, and it's yeah. Anybody who's ever had a broken heart, please listen to this song.
That's a good one. Well, and like I keep coming back to this lyric too, better safe than starry-eyed. I'm like, "Oh."
I know, and this is the one where it says I've like wasted my youth basically on
Yes.
you, and I
Yes.
mean I've felt that before. It's just like just wasting your time with a relationship you have put so much effort into and love and yourself, and
Yeah.
then it's just like crap, why did I do that? Why
Yes,
did and it
always.
I think it's like she's pissed about that, and I have felt that before, and I know millions of other people have too, and it's like you did this to me, you wasted my youth, you wasted
Yes,
all this
my
time,
best
and
years.
yeah, so that spoke to me on this one too. Just
Same. I love this one. I
sad.
love it. And then, and then she moves on, right? That's what I love about our
Yeah,
girl. She
packs it
takes us
away.
through. Yep, and then she hits us with, like, the confidence that we all wish we had with "I Can Do It With a Broken Heart." I mean, and I think this song, like, as I get into track 13, "I Can Do It With a Broken Heart," and sort of ride out these last few tracks, this is where I decided, and I mean, it stands to reason because it's her most recent, but this is her most mature album to me, right? Like, this one
100%.
I feel like, this is her saying, like, I know who I am now. Like, I'm
Mhm.
not beholden to the public. I love my fans by this point. They have to know that, she does everything for her fans. Like, and I feel like she's just coming to a point where she feels like really safe, really secure in who she is and what she can do and just her impact. I like her cultural impact. And that must be such a challenging thing to absorb as like a mid 30s person. I can't even imagine. So I
Yes.
think this is where I just really again started to like just be in awe of her genius once again, like,
Well, something that even like talk about being in awe of her genius. She wrote on her Instagram, I don't know if you read all her posts, but that right as she at 11 o'clock our time when she released it. Can I read what she wrote? Because I
oh my
was just
gosh,
like,
Yes, you can, because you know what? I have it screenshotted on my phone
Yeah.
as well. I know you're going to read the exact same thing that I took a picture of too. So yes,
Well, it's
please.
like, she's talking about the album, and
It's the
I
same.
mean, I can't see it, but probably.
It's the same thing.
So I'm just gonna read it because,
Yes.
again, she's a master at putting into words what everybody else can't. So this is what she wrote: "The Tortured Poets Department, an anthology of new works that reflect events, opinions, and sentiments from a fleeting and fatalistic moment in time, one that was both sensational and sorrowful in equal measure. This period of the author's life is now over." This is just what you were saying. She can pack it up and go, you know. "The chapter closed and boarded up. There is nothing to avenge, no scores to settle once wounds have healed. And upon further reflection, a good number of them turned out to be self inflicted. This writer is of the firm belief that our tears become holy in the form of ink on a page." I know, tears.
I'm glad
Let me
you read
read
it
that
because I
again.
can't.
No, I have chills all over. "This writer is of the firm belief that our tears become holy in the form of ink on a page. Once we have spoken our saddest story, we can be free of it. And then all that's left behind is the tortured poetry." And
I'm literally like a mess. Look at us. We're like two grown ass women
I'm confused.
bawling.
Okay, yeah.
Bawling over a Taylor Swift Instagram post that I've read 100 times because I have it screenshotted here on my phone.
We both screenshot. I was like, I've got to share this. I have got to
It's
share this. But
amazing.
I just read that and was like, no words, no
Yes.
words. And I'm gonna admit this, but back in the day, in my younger days, I wrote. Anytime that something happened to me, I wrote. And a lot of it was poetry. And so all of that stuff she wrote, so, right there, that our tears become holy in the form of ink on a page.
Mm,
And that's how I survived the teenage years,
yeah.
with my words on a page. And that's how I move on, and that's how I close. And that is what this album is for her.
Yes.
She
Yes.
closed that 6-year chapter with Joe, the rebound. I'm gonna call him the rebound. She closed that rebound, and it does hurt too, those rebounds,
Yep.
as she has told us here. Um, and she's like, "I'm a boss. I can do this. I'm done. I'm closing it. It's
Mhm.
over. I did what I needed to do to get it all out and pack it up, like you said, and move on." And she's done. And I'm like, I can do that too, like,
Yes.
anything I'm holding on to, this album is gonna help me pack it up and move on,
Let it
because we're
go.
bosses too, right?
It's
Yeah.
so true. It's so true. And again, I think it just speaks to like people are like, why do you like her? Why do so many people
Yes.
like her? It's that. It's because I can't read an Instagram post from many people a
And
hundred
cry.
times
Yeah.
and cry 100 times. Like
Yeah.
she knows how to put her feelings into words like nobody else. And I think it encourages all of us to do that because it
Mhm.
really is a way, it's such a great way to just literally get it out of your system and
Cleanse.
process. Yeah,
Yes.
to cleanse it.
Cleanse.
And
Mhm.
I love too that she takes us to this like very mature place. I can do it with a broken heart. It's boss. And then she does though. Like I love this about her too. She's so real because she then takes like one final little stab at Maddie with the smallest man who ever lived.
Love.
And I was like, you know
I
what?
loved that because it was,
Even
yeah.
I know. I'm like, but that's how, like, I don't know many people, honestly, that are so good and pure of heart that if there's like a last little dig to take, they're not going to take it. She didn't hurt anybody with it, but
Yeah.
she put
Very
it
few
out
people
there.
wouldn't do it. Yeah. That's what I
Right.
also love about it. She's got the confidence to be like, I'm thinking this. I wrote this. Do I share it? Heck yeah, I do.
Yeah, I do.
Boom.
Yeah.
What does
So
she
I
have to
love,
lose? She's done. Here, I'm letting it all out there, and I'm done. Yep.
and I'm finished. So I love that she takes us there. And then we get into current state with track 15,
Yes.
the alchemy. Here we go back to Travis. So like
Uh-huh.
I think we have to weigh in on Travis. Like I
We
am in
do.
love. I'm
I
obsessed
am
with this
too.
pairing. Are you?
I am
Okay.
too. I think it. Well, I used to not think very much of him, but
Okay.
then as I just saw the surface, I saw him interrupting Patrick Mahomes' speech at the Super Bowl, and I was just like, ugh. It just icked me. But then, I obviously started paying attention to him when he and Taylor got together, and he's a family guy. He's got a huge heart. I think he truly loves her. And this silly side that Taylor has, he has it too, and he brings that out in her. And, you do see Taylor silly in her songs, a lot of her songs.
Yes.
Like you said, this is a more mature, so there's not much on this album. She does have some of her silly in there, but he brings that out in her, and I think that got lost in Joe.
Yeah.
And
Joe seemed really serious.
serious, yeah. And
Yeah.
Taylor definitely has that serious side to
Sure.
her. She's a multifaceted person. I think as a lot of us are, but I love that fun, immature side of her.
Me too.
He brings that out. I think they can be two people who can have so much fun in life, but also have that serious side too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's used to supporting a team, right? I like that he's a tight
Yes.
end, right? Like his whole job is literally like supporting a power team, right? And I think that she needs somebody that is a star in their own right, but is also used to like supporting other stars, like that. The whole Travis Kelsey, Patrick Mahomes situation. Like they're both
Yes.
like one doesn't work without the other almost, and I feel like he's okay to be the supporting character to her, but also an equal partner. So I think
Yeah,
that's what I
which is
love
not
most.
yeah, that is not what she had, and you're right, I'm
Yeah.
sure that is a huge attraction for her, and for us as fans, we're like, "Yes, this is what she needs," and I do love that about Travis. He's definitely not me, 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 me. I mean, he loves
Yeah,
limelight,
of
but
course.
he can share it. You are so
Yeah.
right on that part.
So I love
Love
that.
that.
Well, then we round it out with the last track from just again, we're not talking anthology, just Tortured Poets Department as it came
Yes.
out, which is another focus track for me. The final track on the original album is called Clara Bow,
Mhm.
referencing our old timey actress, and she teased this with her look at the Grammys, which I also loved. People had feelings about it. I loved it. I thought it
I
was
did too.
fantastic.
Mhm.
Um, but this song for me, again, anyone who's ever listened to the show even once knows that before Taylor Swift was even born, one of my first musical loves was the Eagles, is the
Mhm.
Eagles.
Yes, I know
Um,
that about you.
and so it's very true, very true. And Clara Bow to me reminded me of like a modern version of New Kid in Town. So if you're
Mhm.
familiar with the song New Kid in Town, this was like a modern retelling of that for me, which is funny because it's using a very old-timey celebrity to tell the story, but this is what that felt like. And that last, the last section of the song where it says she kind of goes through like who people are trying to make her be like, and then she says, "You look like Taylor Swift in this light. We're loving
Yes.
it. You've
Yes.
got edge she never did. The future's bright, dazzling." Where you're just like, it's like, yes, she's everything everybody's talking about right now, but
Mhm.
there's going to be somebody new that comes along, and it's going to be the same. Like they're going to build that person up in the same way that she's been built up. And I love that she's not afraid to sort of acknowledge, like, this business is fickle, like
Yeah.
you can be on top one day and on the bottom the next, and it sort of just blows with the breeze. And so I
Yep.
love that she tackled that. Especially when she's in the height of her career, right? Like people can't
Right.
get enough of her, and she's still like, willing to go there with a track like this. Of course, I love the Stevie Nicks references,
I
like
know,
that
yes.
makes
This
me
is
so
another with the
happy.
names. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
I
yeah,
I do
yeah.
too.
And just that aesthetic. I mean, anybody who's ever seen me, I have like the full like shaggy hairdo and like I'm like loving the 70s vibe that's coming
Mm.
back right now. But
Oh,
I just
yeah.
think this does a great job of sort of like the up and down side of fame, the excitement and the
Agreed.
realization of the reality of being famous, like the
Mhm.
expectations and half the people rooting for you and the other half wanting you to fail. Like I felt like this song really like summed all of that up in a really beautiful way.
Yes, you're so correct on that one. It was another one that I listened to for the first time, and I liked just the sound of it, I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
I think I'm gonna like this song," I think you can listen, know whether something's gonna stick with you or not, and it was one of them. I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'll be listening to this one over and over."
for sure. For
Mhm.
sure. Oh, Heather, thank you so much for going on this journey with me. You're the only person that I really would love. Like when it comes time to chat Taylor Swift, like you're my gal
I'm
always.
here for you.
We had our special eras moment together, and
I
forever
wore
that
my
will live.
I wore my sweatshirt
Yay!
just for you,
See, and
Jen.
look, you can't see mine. I've got my trash takes
Yeah.
itself out every single time. Right there, we go.
Love that line. Oh my
Love
goodness.
it.
If I had just thought of that back in the day,
Mm-hmm. That's
what a
mine. So we're
comeback. Yeah.
It's the best. It's so the best. So
Mhm.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Same.
Well, as it has been for the past 30 plus years, it was a pleasure speaking with you again.
Yeah, it's so fun, Jen. Thank you very much for having me on again. It's always
You're
fun.
so welcome. And listeners, to check out Heather's online boutique and learn when new collections drop, you can follow her on Instagram at Hello50. That's HELLOFIVE_OH. So definitely check that out. I've been a frequent shopper. I'm happy to admit, and have always been happy with everything that comes. So definitely give that a check. Check that out. And as always, please be sure to follow, download, and share this show. And if you love listening, drop a review on Apple or Spotify for us. And last but not least, to stay informed on all things Super Awesome Mix and what are you listening to, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Super Awesome Mix. Thanks again for listening, and please join me again next week to find your new favorite song.